Hey guys, thank you for tuning in. So, in today's video, I'm going to be talking about the different types of therapy that you can have outside of the traditional talking therapies. So, I'm going to share those with you, and I will probably do a part two to this, so stay tuned. Anyways, without wasting much time, let's get straight into it. So, we're going to start with animal assisted therapy, which is kind of self explanatory, the clues in the name. But essentially, this type of therapy involves interaction with animals with the guidance of a therapist. So, the therapist will act as a facilitator in the client's interaction with the animals. And the type of animals that can be used for this type of therapy is limitless, really. It doesn't just have to be dogs and cats, it can be fish, hen, it can be horses, it can be pigs, can be guinea pigs, even snakes and other types of amphibians. So, yeah, you can use a lot of different types of animals. And in this type of therapy, you'll be interacting with the animals in different ways. And this includes doing stuff like feeding them, washing, cuddling, grooming, walking, or even stroking the animal. The whole point of this type of therapy is that being around animals is supposed to help ease anxiety and reduce anxiety. So the hope is that people will feel more at ease and be able to open up a bit more when they're around animals. So you'll still be having your regular conversations with your therapist. The therapist will be looking at how the interaction with the animals impacts your ability to express yourself and to talk about your feelings. And the therapist will also be trying to gain insight on your interaction with the animals as to how you form relationships and attachments. And of course, if it doesn't work out well with one animal, you can always try another animal. It's a trial and error. So if you don't feel as comfortable or as relaxed around a certain animal as it would have been hoped, then you can try a different one until you find the one that works for you. So ultimately, the therapist is helping you to explore and understand the feelings that you have while you're interacting with the animals. Now, this type of therapy, I don't know exactly how much it costs, but I assume it's pretty pricey. And looking online, I only found about two different prices. One was £150 per hour, and the other one said £360 for 6 sessions. So, not cheap at all. Now, next up, we have art therapy, which you probably may have already heard about because it is becoming more and more common. So, in art therapy, individuals are invited into a creative process which helps them to express what they might be feeling in a non-verbal way. And this type of therapy is very good for people that might not be able to use words to communicate or may not be able to communicate verbally. So, not just children, but anyone who might find it very difficult to use words. So, in art therapy, the different types of things that you can do include drawing, sculpting, photography, modeling, and painting. So there's so many different ways of utilizing art therapy and expressing yourself. Like I said before, it is commonly used with children who are very young and who may not have the words to be able to express exactly what's going on in their minds, but it is available to anyone of any age, especially if art is your way of expressing yourself, then of course it makes sense that art therapy would be helpful for you as well. And there are different types of art therapy, it can be split into smaller categories. There's like music therapy and drama therapy, which I'll speak about eventually. So if art therapy sounds like it might be for you, then that's also an option. Next up, we have sand tray therapy, which is, in my opinion, a type of art therapy because it also involves being quite creative. Sand therapy is a non-verbal, expressive type of counseling and therapy, which allows clients to explore their inner world using sand and miniature objects to create three-dimensional pictures, which will be an expression of what they might be feeling and thinking. The hope for this is that clients will be able to unlock or at least get an insight into their unconscious through the pictures that they create in the sand tray and hopefully then understand what's going on in their lives. So this type of therapy originated from Margaret Lowenfeld's world technique, where miniature objects and sand were used together as a form of communication. In sand therapy, you'll normally use a sand tray, water, and miniature objects, which can vary because there's so many endless things that we can use to express what we're thinking and feeling. So you can expect to see miniature objects like vegetables, vehicles, spiritual objects, household items, posters and signs, landscape objects, fantasy objects, fictional objects, human figures, and so on and so forth. Like the list is endless. So once a client has been shown everything that is available to them, they're given the time to be able to create their image and express themselves however they want. And then once that's finished, then the therapist and the client will then talk about what's in the image, what it represents, what it might mean, and they'll kind of uncover it together and explore it together. And sometimes you may also be allowed to take a picture before having to clear up the tray, maybe because you might not be able to keep it. But I guess depending on the therapist, you might be able to keep it for the next session untouched and unchanged. But sometimes they may be allowed to take a picture of it just to keep it for future reference. So this type of therapy, I don't really know the price for this, but I assume it's going to be more than regular talking therapy. But once again, just like all the other ones, this is available for all ages. It's not limited to children, even though sometimes it may seem like, what is an adult going to do with this if it's for nonverbal? But there are times when adults can also struggle with communication, can also struggle with words. So this is also suitable for anyone. The next type of therapy that I'm going to talk about is nature therapy, which is also known as ecotherapy or is also known as horticulture therapy. So this type of therapy requires you to be outside in nature, and this could vary from a different variety of locations. It could be a garden, a park, a forest, and even a farm. The reason this type of therapy even exists is because a lot of research shows and suggests that being outside in nature reduces anxiety, reduces stress levels, and can also reduce depression symptoms. So it makes sense that doing therapy outside, letting your feelings out and expressing yourself while being in a place where naturally your anxiety levels are going to reduce would have a positive impact on your mental health. So in this type of therapy, you would spend time in nature while discussing whatever it is that's on your mind. I don't believe you have to walk the whole time. I think you could also sit in nature if you really wanted to. And sometimes you can even be active in nature. So you could even get involved in something like gardening and still do your therapy while you're gardening, because that's, doubly therapeutic. So for this type of therapy, as long as you're mobile and you're able to walk with ease and you don't struggle to be on your feet for a long period of time, then I would recommend this type of therapy for you, especially if you enjoy being outdoors, or if you find that you are somebody who would like to spend more time outdoors but struggles to, this type of therapy might be good for you. The next type of therapy I'm going to talk about is what's known as light therapy, or also known as phototherapy. So this type of therapy is actually also known as a treatment for seasonal affective disorder, also known as SAD for short. So if you don't know what seasonal affective disorder is, it's a type of depression that people experience when there's a shift in seasons, and they experience depressive symptoms, and this usually occurs in winter and also in summer. So the treatment for this is usually light therapy. And in this kind of therapy, the recommendation is that an individual sits in front of a light box for at least 30 minutes to 1 hour a day in order to help boost their serotonin levels and therefore reduce depressive symptoms that they might be experiencing as a result of a shift in seasons. So the type of light is artificial and is different to regular artificial light. It doesn't have ultraviolet rays, which are usually harmful, but it's specifically designed to be something that you can sit in front of and take in without having the negative impacts of UV light rays. And I believe you probably can also do light therapy outside in the natural light, maybe at sunrise or midday when there's a lot of light. But of course, the whole reason that this type of therapy exists is usually because there's not enough light or there's not enough daylight around the person. So if you don't have natural light around you, then you can also use a light box. So that brings me to the end of this video, and I will do a part 2 if you'd like to know more about the different types of therapy that one can use. And I hope that this video was informative and helpful, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye!